Hello, welcome to another WriterlyWitterings. My name's Michael Jecks. That's a good cup of tea. Last week I spoke about my new TWSBI Go, which is a fantastic little pen, and I've been using it every day since the video went up. But there's been a few people who have asked about other pens that I've got, and I thought today I'd talk about one of the pens that is for me one of the most delightful. It's one of the best pens. There are certain reasons why, and I'll explain that. I have, over the years, been very lucky. I've been given pens like this wonderful Visconti so that I can work more efficiently. It's a magnificent pen, and I would say it's the pen I've used more than any other. For one thing, it's got this delightful barrel and cap. They're made from lava that came from Mount Etna, apparently. I don't care where they actually come from. The main thing is that I can carry this around all day. I can drop it, which I have done. I can have it rub up against other things. This will not get scratched. It looks as good now as the day I originally collected it. Absolutely magnificent pen, superb nib that's just a joy to use, and it has these two windows here and here so I can see how much ink there is in it at any one time. This is, for me, about the most perfect pen I can conceive of. It's got a huge reservoir, it's got a fabulous nib, it's got a really quick release because it has a bayonet fitting on the cap, and everything about this works for me as a writer. But there's one pen that I do actually prefer, and it's that pen that I'm about to talk about. Cheers. So here we are back again, and the pen I'm going to talk about today is a good old-fashioned, rather gorgeous Conway Stewart. They always used to come in these enormous boxes. Sadly the company's gone now, probably because every company I have any dealings with suffers a cataclysmic collapse. I was very fortunate in my 20s. I worked in the computer industry, and for 13 years I was moderately successful selling computers and software and leasing and all sorts. And at the end of 13 years, when the last company dispensed with my services, I discovered on counting up that I'd had 13 jobs. So for me, 13's a bit of an unlucky number, but it's also a bit lucky because it's the reason why I'm a writer now. Anyway, Conway Stewart. They used to be a fabulous pen company based in Plymouth, or just outside Plymouth in fact. And Conway Stewart was really quite an old firm. They've been going, originally they were based in London just south of St Paul's, but they were burned out of there during the Blitz, and as pens became less popular over the 60s and 70s they declined, but they were restarted in effect in Plymouth in I think the 90s, and started selling some wonderful pens such as the Churchill, which I've got, and a number of other delightful designs, the Drake in solid silver for example, which is one of my favourite pens still. Conway Stewart never unfortunately managed to break heavily into any big markets, and they went into a decline and disappeared a few years ago. However, when they were still going, I got in touch with the managing director because I'd bought a Churchill and I thought it would be a nice idea for them to set up a line of pens that was designed for writers. And they liked the idea so much that they asked me to have some words with them about the sort of pen that I would like as a writer, and it became the first of the Detection series. So let's see what we've got in here. So here we go. There was originally a little book here, which was a short story that I wrote specifically for Conway Stewart. The idea was that it was the Detection collection, as you can see there, with that rather excellent logo, and every pen was going to come in its own presentation case like this, with a short story, with some ink, and with a pen. This is the pen that Conway Stewart designed for me. What nice people. Get that out of the way. I'll put this down so that the pen doesn't move around too far, and also so you can see how big it is. There we go. Now, this is the Michael Jecks Detection Collection pen. It's got this wonderful, I think absolutely beautiful resin, which Conway Stewart decided to call Dartmoor resin because it's got brown flecks, it's got green flecks, it's got gold flecks, very much like the Moors. They were determined that it would have gold to go with the slightly yellowish colour of the resin. Personally, I prefer silver, but I was going to go with what they suggested. Now, there's one thing I've got to point out here which is rather sad, and that is I'm hoping you can just about pick out here that there is a signature. It is actually my signature. I'm just going to see if I can bring this up any closer to try to focus that. So I think you can just about see there that you can see that there's writing anyway. Now, what happened originally, when the pen was first made, that writing was filled with gold, from gold leaf that was pressed in quite hard. What was sad was that the morning that I was given this pen, I sat down and signed all of the books that were going to be given away with the Detection Collection pen, and in that time all of the gold wore off. In the same way, just bring this up here, at the top of the cap you can see there's the Detection Collection logo again. So it's a magnifying glass, let's move that around, and then a D and a C, which shows up quite clearly there, I think. That too had gold in it a while ago, but that too wore away very quickly because this pen was used. It's not been a toy, it's been an authentic working pen. So how does it open? Obviously you unscrew it, and here we go again. So we've got a nice Conway Stewart nib with the Conway Stewart Diamond and CS. I've got the interest here that I'm trying to focus from the back of the camera while my hand's in front of the camera, and I've got to do it because it's so close. I've got to do it without my glasses on, and I'm half blind without my glasses on, so this is really an interesting process. You can see it says Conway Stewart. You should also be able to see that it says, what does it say? 18 karat gold, and it's IM. So I think that's, what does IM stand for? That's interesting. I think it's italic medium, not italic broad, which I absolutely love. Now, what's interesting with this pen is, unlike my real favourite pen, which I will now retrieve, so the cap unscrews, whereas with the Visconti, I'll get that into focus again, where is it? With the Visconti it's a quick release like that. With the Visconti I have two windows so that I can see exactly how much ink there is. There's that window there, which allows me to see how much ink there is in the main reservoir, and there's also this little window here that allows me to see what there is in the smaller reservoir. The reason being that with these power fillers you can fill up all of that full of ink and then work on a smaller amount here. Then when you're going on a plane or anything, you turn it upside down, unscrew, screw again, and then the little reservoir is emptied at the top here, so that you cannot get air pressure in the aeroplane squirting ink into the cap, which is a nice little idea, but I very rarely go on aeroplanes anyway, so it's a bit irrelevant. All I'm showing you that for is to demonstrate that with this pen that I adore, there's no ink window or anything. You have no idea how much ink there is in there, which is irritating. To fill this, you've got a blind cap here. Take that off. And underneath there's a little knob. When you turn this, it will move a piston up and down inside and it'll suck up ink and it'll push ink out. Now, the daft thing about this is, of course, you can never see how much ink you've got in there. I don't think there's very much. I think this is basically a cartridge converter pen that's been tidied up with a little button. I don't think it was a very expensive way of producing a pen, which is a shame because this pen writes just stunningly well. It's beautiful, that nib, as I will demonstrate. So let's fill this little delightful toy with some ink. Cap off, take the blind cap off at the back, and then we'll get some of my favourite ink of the moment. Delightful Ackerman ink. Drop the nib into that and fill that. Give it a quick wipe and the cap back on. Never leave your ink bottle with the lid loose. This is the first of the detection collection. Whoops. Jecks pen. There you go, from Conway Stewart. IM nib, and this is Israel's Zeeblau. So there you have it, a beautiful pen. I just love that colouring, but not the sort of pen I would take with me for use every day because sadly it'll get scratched and I'll be bereft. But it's a lovely pen to use. And if you see one to buy, I would thoroughly recommend it because they should be worth a few pennies in the future. Anyway, that's all you need to know about the Conway Stewart Michael Jecks pen from the Detection collection. If you have any comments about this, do please put them in the bottom, and subscribe and share and all those good things. I am currently adding a little bit to this site because I have been working on showing off just a few of the different inks that I've got. Some of these, as you can see, are a little bit bright. You'll be glad to know I've also done more sensible inks as well. So Prussian blue, blue black, and Twilight and various blacks from Mont Blanc and Cross. Lots of different inks. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of reviewing of inks at some point in the near future. And I'm also going to be doing a bit more talking about books. Other people's books that I like, books that I don't like necessarily as well. So that you get a feel for what it is that I like reading as well as what I like writing. So I hope that's all going to be interesting. If it's not, do please let me know. If it is, let me know as well. There's all these comments down the bottom that need to be filled. And apart from that, thanks very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again next time I make a cup of tea. Cheers. And now I've got to go and wash this out.